In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Hello to all my friends. In today's video, I want to talk a bit more about shell design in 3D Vista. In the main tutorial, I introduced its various elements one by one and explained the general concepts. However, I realized that some friends still have a bit of trouble with the shell design section and have some questions. So I decided to make this video, this tutorial, in hopes that it will help resolve their issues, God willing. In this video, I intend to analyze one of the shell templates that 3D Vista itself has provided as a ready-made option in its software and introduce its various parts to you in detail. It's good to know that designing the shell is an important part of creating or building a virtual tour, and it's very significant. Unfortunately, it's also quite time-consuming, and almost half of your virtual tour design might be spent just on designing the shell. If your virtual tour is somewhat complex and heavy, and you're not familiar with the elements of shell design or don't have enough skill in this area, you might run into trouble. All right, let's go and introduce where we can access 3D Vista shells. When you open the 3D Vista software, you create a new project from the file section. New project, and the first page that opens is this one, which asks you to select your desired shell or screen. As you can see here, various shells with different names are listed here, and their main categories are in this section, which contains 6 main shells. The first one is a basic, almost empty shell. And look, we select this basic shell. You can also choose its style to be empty and set its type to be completely without color or colorless. Or you can, after all, select some minimal details for it to have. For example, you can have the list of panels like this, or in different styles, and you can select various options here. Or you can come and select the second option, which is magazine, as your main category. And in the same way, you can choose various subcategories, go in and then change the elements inside it and use it according to your own needs. The category that I actually chose today to introduce to you and to open up and go through its elements one by one is in the portfolio section, which basically means work samples. Now, these are just names, basically, the names they've chosen for these templates, and maybe the meaning doesn't really reflect the elements inside them that much. So after I select portfolio, I come here and there are 2 options again, side menu or community. I choose the first option, side menu, and then there are black 1, black 2, and so on, plus pink. I'll go with the first option, black one, because the rest are pretty similar. If you learn one, you can work with the others more easily. I select it and wait for your chosen theme to load. It might take a few seconds. All right, after the theme loads, it tells you to upload your panoramas, but you don't necessarily have to upload them right now. You can close the page and go to the theme section instead. But for now, I'll add 1 or 2 panoramas here, so the panorama list isn't empty, and I can explain things to you better. Depending on the size of the photos I'm uploading, it might take a little time. I've uploaded 2 photos from a park here. One is a photo from autumn, and the other is from winter. Let's go to the skin design section. First, let us consider and see what we actually mean by the term skin here. All right, just like this, I will take a quick preview of it. Pay attention, friends. The purpose of skin design is to design the elements that appear on this main page. If you look closely, you can see a photo here. There are also some menus. Here, you can see that they are selectable, and there's also an information box here, as well as an icon that, when you click it, allows you to highlight this section and view your tour in full screen. You also saw that a sticker or a kind of title appeared here, and by clicking this option, you can expand it again and have access to this menu. Additionally, in this section, you can adjust some settings for the virtual tour while viewing it. For example, by expanding this option, you can use this button to mute or play your music. Or with this second option, if there are hotspots in your virtual tour and you don't want them to be shown in this panorama, by clicking this option, the hotspots will be hidden and by clicking it again, they will be shown. With this option, it goes full screen. With this option, you can directly add your Twitter link to your virtual tour or your Facebook link, and you can easily add any other icons you need. So now we understand what we mean by skin. Pay attention. What you're seeing right now is the desktop skin. That means the elements you see here are what someone will see when they view your virtual tour on a computer. These elements will be displayed to them with this arrangement, this appearance, and this functionality. However, if someone wants to view your virtual tour on a mobile device, they will see different elements. One of the features of 3D Vista is that it supports dual screens, meaning it allows you to design two separate skin zones for desktop and one for mobile. In this section, if you pay attention, you'll see a desktop icon. Here, this is the desktop image, and there's also a mobile image in this part. If you click on it, you can see it. Since this is a pre-designed theme from the 3D Vista software itself, it has also created this design for the mobile theme. So if someone views the virtual tour on a mobile device, they'll see the icons like this. Naturally, the font sizes, the placement of these elements, and some of their characteristics are different from what you design for the desktop. And if we only design a theme for your desktop and have people view that same theme on their mobile devices, then many of the icons will appear very small. Sometimes the text will be unreadable, and occasionally these elements will even overlap each other, which doesn't give your virtual tour a very appealing look. Therefore, it is recommended that you design both themes separately. In the main video, it is explained in the main 3D Vista tutorial how you can design both themes, and also how, if you haven't imported any default theme from the 3D Vista library, you can copy the theme you designed for desktop, move it over to mobile, and then from here, enter this section, and then come to this part and adjust its specific settings. Change the fonts, adjust the size of the boxes, modify the layout. As you can see, the desktop layout is usually horizontal, but on mobile, the screen is vertical, so your design layout needs to be different accordingly. So you can take this horizontal design on the laptop and turn it into a vertical design using the same options, but it just takes less time and you only need to change the fonts and the layout. You no longer need to go and change the actions one by one. Now I'll explain what I mean by actions and why they matter. Look, when I previewed it, let's go back and preview it again so I can explain it there. Watch, I click on this button. It seems like a very simple button, and when I click it, these elements close and other elements appear, and it looks like it's doing something very simple. But look, in this template, every single thing that this button needs to do has to be defined for it one by one. That means for this button, we have to specify these actions in its action section. For example, when someone clicks on it, it should hide this entire window, first of all, and secondly, it should also hide itself. Thirdly, show this other icon, and also show this thin, narrow box that you see here in black, and show this sticker as well. So in its actions, you need to define each of these one by one, specifying which items or elements to hide, which elements to show, and sometimes it might need to stop some music or play a video. You need to define each of these for it, one by one as needed. Let's go back to 3D Vista. Now, to explain some concepts again here, first I need to introduce a few elements to you so you know what they actually are. How did the person who designed this poster create these elements? Take a look at the first element. Up here, you have quick access to some elements. The first one is the viewer, but we don't need the viewer right now. We have a main viewer here. Look, this blue area here says main viewer in the middle. This is your main view, meaning your virtual tour is being displayed here. You can also change this. You can resize it, make it bigger or smaller. So if I make this smaller and move it here, and then go to preview, you'll see that in your virtual tour, only this part in the center is displayed. Notice that the area outside is empty, and this is where your tour, your content is actually shown. The other elements still work. Everything is in its place, but your viewer is right here. All right, we don't need this viewer. Let's make it full screen. Let's go back. The next option is floor plan, which we also don't need. Let's move on to the next option, which is container. Container is actually what we need for designing each and every one of these sections. A container is basically a vessel where we put other elements inside. I click on it here, and in this section I create a very simple container. I've created a very simple container here, and I just want to introduce what it does, basically what its function is. When I created this container here, you can see that an element was added for me in this section. In this part, under box elements, an element was added. Its name is container, and there's an eye icon in front of it. If I click on this eye, a line appears over it and my container gets hidden. If I click it again, my container becomes visible. I double click to change its name. Let me give it a Persian name so you can easily see it here. Sorry, container. Container. So what is a container useful for? What does it do? We're going to put a series of elements inside the container. What kind of elements do we want to put in? For example, a label element, or I'll put my title inside it. Okay. And for example, I'll name it click here. All right, I've named it click here. I want something like this. Right now, I want to create this for you with this container so you can see exactly how this part was made and how they designed it here. All right, so I created a container and placed an element inside it. Basically, I put some text inside it with the title click here. And now there's a line here. So I want to add a line as well. In 3D Vista, we don't have an element that lets us create a line. We have to bring the line in from outside. How do we bring it in from outside? It's really simple. All of you are familiar with PowerPoint. You can either download a picture of a line from the internet or anywhere else, or you can create an image yourself, just a picture of a line. How do we create a picture of a line? We open PowerPoint. We draw a straight and very simple line in it. To draw a straight line, we go to the Home tab here, select this Draw Line option, and draw a straight line. To make sure your line isn't crooked, hold down the Shift key while drawing the line so it creates a straight line. Then you go and select its color as white here. Now I'll move this line over here so it can be seen. Okay, select its color as white. Let's also increase its thickness a bit to make it bolder. You can export it with this same thickness as well. I'll make it a little thicker so I can export it. Now, how do we export it? Right click on the corner of this line and select Save as Picture. Make sure to choose PNG as the format when saving as a picture. Select PNG and give it a name. Line. I'm saving it. I don't need this PowerPoint anymore, so I'll close it. Now I'll come here. Okay, the one I created is an image. So in the template, I need to insert an image. I go to this section, click on the image section, and navigate to the folder where I saved that line. See, it's right here. I saved it in this folder, new folder 4, and my line is here. I select it. When I click open, I can now choose where I want to insert the line and click there. I want it to be inside this container. I click here and this line gets added right here. It's that simple. Notice that now in this container, I create in this container whose title is here in the corner. Down here, we have a label that says click the button and an image, which is the line. I'm going to change its name and write line. Okay, I want to have 2 lines. It's easy. Control C, Control V, copy and paste. And now there are 2. I take one and put it up here. So now I have a button in the middle and 2 lines, one above and one below it. All right, now let's talk a bit more about the settings of this container together. So when you selected the container, look, there are 2 ways to select this container. Either we can come here in this sidebar, I can highlight these. Just look at this elements section. See, in the elements section, you come and click on your container will be selected. Then after you've selected it, see which options become available for you. Well, we don't need to deal with a tag. For now, we don't need the action either. Properties. In the properties, there's the advanced option, but for now, I won't open it. I don't need it here. In the container, there's edit style. Let's go into edit style. Here we can choose the background color of the container. By default, the color is white. If I click here, if I left click, I can select the color. Anywhere in this area, if I right click, I can create a new color. Sorry, if I left click, I can create a new color. This way, I can create a special effect in the background of this container like this. And with this opacity option, I can control its level of transparency or opacity accordingly. Right, just like that. And the next option, in this section, I can add a border to my container. As you can see, the border color is black. And if I set its thickness to 1, I can even round its corners. For example, here I round its corners by 5 degrees. And the scrollable feature means that if there are many elements inside, I can scroll through it, move up and down, and see the different elements. What is scroll? Let me close this. Look, here on the side, you see it has a tab. I grab it and drag it up and down. The contents inside move up and down. That's what scroll means. It means when the content inside this box, this container increases, when there's a lot of content here, you have to scroll. There should be an option on the side, a tab that you can move up and down. So you can move it up and down and access different elements. Now, in the site editor, in this section, you can also control the scroll bar's color, size, and other settings. And by clicking this option, you can add a shadow to this container box as well. For now, I'll disable this. All right. The next topic is the layout of this container itself. It's important what the layout of this container is. You see there are 3 options here: absolute, horizontal, and vertical. Absolute means fixed. It means everything I've defined here. Look, I've now placed 3 elements inside this container, and I've manually set the position of these elements. That is, I use the mouse to move this line up and down, or move this button up and down, and wherever I place them, they stayed right there. But sometimes no, I want Vista to automatically arrange these for me side by side. So now, how should it arrange them? Should it line them up horizontally next to each other, or should it arrange them vertically, one above the other? So if I select the container and then change its layout to vertical, it will arrange all the elements inside this container vertically, from top to bottom. In what order does it arrange them? In the same order that they are placed here. See, this is my container, then comes the label, then a line, and then another line. Now, I want one line at the top and one at the bottom. I want the label to be between them. So right here, I click on this label, I grab it, and gently drag it between these 2 lines, just like that. So what happened? I came and rearranged them like this. Look, now I grab this bottom line again and drag it between the top line and the label. See, the lines went to the top and the label came below them. But now I want to grab the label again and drop it between these 2 lines like this. So this is the vertical layout. And now if I select the horizontal layout for this container, it doesn't really look good. But just so you see, the lines in the label are arranged horizontally in a way that you can't really see anything. Here, since there are 2 thin lines in the title, the best option for this container for the main and overall containers is to set it to absolute layout, and then we can manually determine how the elements are positioned. Let me set this to vertical. First, let's meticulously fix their positions, and then I will proceed to set them to absolute and carefully adjust their placement. All right. Just like that. Now, as for the other settings for this container, we don't need to deal with its tooltip for now. Let's scroll down. Here's its size and its position. You don't need to worry about these right now. I'll explain them to you later. For now, let's not get too caught up with these. Let's go inside, and I'll briefly explain the content we've added inside. The first element inside this container is a line. So when I select this line, I choose the line option. Again, a set of settings becomes available for this. This section, the advanced option settings, aren't really important because it's just a line, and we don't want to put any special content inside it that would require us to adjust these settings. So we don't need to deal with these options and properties. But the important part is down here, which is the size and position section. Look, right now, this line is taking up the entire width of your container. You don't want this line to fill the whole width of the container. For example, you want the line to cover 80% of the container's width. Like this, we set the percentage to 80, and in terms of height, this line is occupying 1% of the container's height, and we set its percentage to 1. And what about its position? Look, right now left is selected. You can change this position so that the line comes from the right side. That means currently the left is set to 0. So I select right, set right to 0, and remove the left. So look, since I selected right and left was already selected, it automatically became 100% because it recognized that this line should be attached to the right side. But if I set it to 80% again, you see it comes out like this and starts from the right side. All right, now I'll go and apply the same settings to the second line as well. All I need to do is set this to 80%, uncheck left, check right, and set this to 0. Just like that. Okay, the settings for both lines are done. I'll also set the vertical percentage to 1%. And as for the label settings inside here, you can see that when I select the label itself, it also has a set of settings here in the properties section where I need to go and adjust its settings. It has an edit style option. I'll go into edit style and I can choose a background color for it, a bit of opacity as well. You can see its background color here. I click here and a color is created here. And now I'll choose white as the color for it and increase its opacity a bit so the text becomes readable. And here I select a font for it. I usually prefer using the B Icon font or perhaps the B Traffic font, as they are both excellent choices. B Icon is a nice looking font. Here I set the font size to 20 and I can make it bold or italic, but I won't spend too much time on it now. That's it for editing its style. Now, for horizontal alignment, how should the text be aligned? Look, right now I've selected this label. Now I want to specify how the text inside it should be aligned. It's currently set to center, but I can change it to right. You see, the text now starts from the right. I can also set it to left, so it starts from the left. But since we're writing in Persian, we should set it to right. So what about vertical alignment? Right now, it's set to middle. Look, I want this click here phrase to be positioned either at the bottom of this button or stuck to the top or center. Right now it's set to middle. If I set it to bottom, and if I make it a bit bigger, you'll see that it sits right at the bottom. And if I set it to middle, it moves to the center. Now, since its size was small, it didn't make much of a difference. And as you can see, it doesn't look very good right now. If you click on it a lot, it sticks to this side, to the right side. Okay, I'll fix it. Let's move forward. Next, you again have size and position. And for this button, I don't want its width to be 100% of my container. I want it to be 50%, like this. Okay, and I also want its height to be about 20% of my container. Its size should be a bit bigger. I'll move this line lower, like this. These. All right. And in this section, you can see again that this has stuck to the left. Why? Because the left option is selected here. I can move it and stick it to the right, or not at all. I want all of these to be centered. To center all of these, I need to select the main container again. Once I select the main container, you can see it. In this layout section, I have chosen the absolute option myself. That means wherever I place these elements with the mouse, that's where they'll stay. Well, I could have set this to vertical instead. If I chose vertical, it would automatically arrange everything vertically for me. And in that case, take a look. Now, after I selected vertical, then I could set a horizontal alignment for it again. What does that mean? It means I could set it to be centered vertically and also have it centered from top to bottom as well. You saw that with this element, I was able to easily center all of them. But no, I want to keep it in absolute mode. Press Ctrl+Z, and still in absolute mode, I want to move this to a more centered position. So when I select this layer option, in this section under position, you can see that the left option is checked here. The value is set to 0, but I'll assign a value to it, let's say 20. You see it moved a bit forward with some trial and error. Let's figure out what value to set so it's perfectly centered. For example, I could set it to 50 or 75. Now it's here, and that's okay. Now, for example, I'll set it to 120. Sorry, I'll set it to 120 so that it lands in this section. So in this way, I was able to change its position as well. Now, the top part is at 68. I'll set it to 65 so it moves up a bit. Or for example, I'll set it to 66 so it goes down a notch. And in this way, I can also specify their positions within this container. So now you've learned how you can position these elements inside these containers, arrange them, and from now on, when I say what is layout, what is horizontal alignment, and what is vertical alignment, you'll understand more easily and grasp what I mean. Now, there's another point about the text I wrote inside this label. Notice that the text is really close to the right side of this label, and it doesn't look very appealing. I can change that as well. There's a property called padding down here. After the position settings, there's a padding option, and with this padding, you can shift the text a bit inward into the box. Now, as you can see, by increasing this section, for example, it's marked with an arrow and a line headed, means that if you increase the value from the right side, your text will move away from the right edge. I'll set this padding to 10, and you can see the result. Now your text is nicely readable. Now I can make this container smaller, either by percentage or by size. I was able to do it with the mouse right here, or by changing this value, like setting it to 35%, so I can position it exactly like this. So what is an action? What do we mean by action? Because later on, I'll explain more. For example, we define an action for this option and specify what it should do. Right now, I want this button when I'm viewing the virtual tour, and I click on it to perform a series of tasks. First of all, I want this button so that when the mouse hovers over it, the cursor changes and turns into a clickable hand, so that the viewer or user immediately realizes that this is a clickable button and is encouraged to click on it. So what do? I come and select this label option. I open this section in the advanced options. In properties. In properties under advanced options, there's an option called use hand cursor. If I check this, after I preview it, let me show you what I mean. I uncheck it and preview it. Take a look. This is just a regular button. Okay, now I'll close the preview and select it. I'll go and check the use hand cursor option and preview it again. Now, when the mouse hovers over it, you can see that the cursor changes. So it's clear that this is a button you can click on. Okay. And an important point, look, when I was designing the skin, this element in the skin had a nice gap from this line, but here there's no gap. So I recommend the following. I suggest you control your layouts using numbers, not by moving things with the mouse. So if I take this container, so I would come and set its layout from absolute to vertical, then I would center and middle it like this, and then I would assign percentages to these elements. With 20%, their position in that space would be nicely defined. Width, 80%, 1%, and this one as well, like this. This line too. Always. Now let's go to preview. You will see that we no longer have the issue of irregular space. So the more you can work with numbers inside the theme design, the better it is. That is, use the settings from 3DF Star itself to arrange and align your elements next to each other. If you try to do this by eye and manually, in the preview you'll constantly have to use trial and error to get a look that matches your own preference. Alright, now I want to define an action. What is an action? It means that when I click on this bar, on this section, on this button, it performs a specific task for me. What kind of task? Look, right here on this button, when I click, it hides this sidebar, it shows another one, and it displays this sticker. I want to define exactly the same action on this button. What should I do? Well, to define actions, first I need to see what actions are available on this button. I select this button, I go to this element section and come here. In its action section, I can see what options it has. All right, these are the options: hide component, show component. Which components does it hide, and which elements or components does it show? I double click on these, I memorize them. Then I check what the expanded panel does. In the left panel, it hides it, and in the left panel, it shows the collapse and also shows the sticker. All right, now I'll go and assign these same actions to this button. I go and click the plus sign for actions, show hide component. Okay, what was it supposed to show in the left panel? I open the left panel. It should show the collapse and also show the sticker. And again, for show hide component, what should it hide? We said in the left panel, it should hide the expanded. Let's review and see if it does the same thing or not. Look, if I click this button now, as you saw, it showed a collapse section. It also showed this sticker and hid the expanded section. Just like that. All right, now you're pretty much familiar with the overall process. Now let's go and customize the template that 300 has prepared for us so we can use it in our own virtual tool mode. I don't want the elements I created here, so I select them and delete them. To select and delete, it's really easy. You can just click this cross here in this section. Simple. Or you can select it right here and delete it. I usually use this cross here and it gets rid of it quickly. The first thing when designing the template, English templates are left to right. Since Persian is written right to left, we usually try to design the websites or virtual tours we create from right to left. Because if it's left to right, it won't look good. Just look at how our text appears. If all my text is right to left, but the overall layout is left to right, it doesn't really match the default format we Persian speakers have in mind. It doesn't quite align with what we're used to as the default format in our minds as Persian speakers. So what should we do to switch this around? In this template, we have two main elements. I'm going to close these. Let me close these here as well, so it doesn't get too cluttered and distract you. Elements. Only the element section is open here. What elements do I have? As I said, I have two main elements which are shown here now. One is the left panel, which is called the left panel. And the other element is the settings, which is this section. Okay, I'll select the left panel. I want to move the left panel to the right and move the settings to the left. So how can I move the entire left panel to the right all at once? I want to change its position or its place. So I select the left panel. In this section, under size and position, I uncheck the left option. I don't want it to stick to the left. I want it to stick to the right. I check the right option and set it to 0. Okay. Now, if I hit OK, you see the panel has completely moved and is stuck to the right side of the screen or my layout. And I also want to move the settings option to the left. So again, I select settings. I select the settings container, and in the position section, I check left and set it to 0. What does that mean? It means I'm telling it to stick to the left side with no gap or border on the left. I check this option and it moves. And just like that, I was able to switch their positions. Right. Now let's go through them one by one. Look, for now, we're not dealing with this settings part. I come here and in this left panel section, I customize each of its elements one by one and translate them into Persian so you can learn as well. The first option or the first element inside it, take a look. Let me close this. This is my left panel. If I click this little arrow, it opens up. I can see what's inside it. Inside it, there are two different options, two different containers. The left panel itself is a container, and inside it there are two more containers. The first container is called collapsed. The second container is called expanded. Expanded means it's open, just like what you see here. Collapsed means it's in the closed state. What does that mean? Now, if I close this eye icon to hide it and show this one, it means this is its collapsed state. Okay, and this is its expanded state. All right, I'll hide the expanded state. I need to fix this collapsed state because it's important. Since this collapsed state was for when our left panel was on the left side, now that it's on the right side, I need to adjust their positions a bit. I'll select this collapsed container option to see what's inside it. There are two elements inside this as well. One is the container, the black container that it added itself, and the other is the icon button. The black container is this one. It's the part that's a bit black and faded here. A narrow rectangle. This black container, which is itself a container, has its style defined in its properties, where a color has been applied to it along with a bit of transparency to create this effect. Now, I want these two elements to actually stick to the right side. What should I do? I go to the position section of the entire collapse, and again you can see it says left. Where is left this time? Look, above the collapse it says left, because the collapse is actually inside the left panel container. So the left of the collapse becomes what? It's the left border of the left panel itself, right? But since the left panel itself is inside this main viewer, its left or left side becomes the border of the whole page or the main viewer. But since the collapse is inside the left panel, its left side becomes the left border inside the left panel container. So if I set this to right now and make this tight, its distance from the border will go away and it will stick to the right side. Okay, but why didn't it stick completely? Let's see what the reason is. I'm going inside the collapse. You might get a bit confused here, but just pay attention. The collapse container was inside the left panel container. I brought it and stuck it to the right border of the left panel. Now the black container is inside the collapse container. I want to bring this black one as well and stick it to the right border of the collapse. So what do we do now? I select this black container, and again I proceed. I check this option and lock it in place. As you saw, it's stuck to the right side. And now this button is in a good spot. Everything about it is fine, but the button itself, since it has moved from left to right, now this button says, if you click me, I'll go to the left. Well, that's not right. So this arrow should be pointing to the left, so we understand, sorry, right now the arrow on this button is pointing to the right. So what does that mean? It gives the impression that if we click this button, this container will actually move to the right. Well, we need to make this arrow point to the left to show that if we click this, the container will extend and open. So what do? We can replace this button with another button. This button is just an image. We can't do anything with it. The only thing we can do is replace it. How do we replace it? We have two ways to replace it. Either we bring in another image, design that image, or icon ourselves, import it into 3D Vista, and use it as a replacement. Or we can choose from the elements available inside 3D Vista. We get the elements from the library inside 3D Vista. In this way, when we select this button, a gear icon appears here. If I click on it, on this rectangular area with dotted lines inside, and if I hover over it, you can see it says library. If I click on it, the library opens, and there are various buttons here that I can select and use. I can choose this button you see here, which is a bit closer to what we need. We can choose this button or any of these that can convey the feeling we want. I select one and choose it. You saw that this button was replaced. That's all that we have covered here. We are now completely finished with the collapse container, so we will go ahead and proceed to hide it from view. Since it was hidden by default, we'll show the extended one. Let's preview it to see if it's still working properly or not. Well, as you can see, it's moved to the right, and if we click this, it gets hidden. The sticker appears, and this button is now visible. Now, if we click this again, everything goes back to its place. Okay, just notice here that the sticker has overlapped with the settings button. We'll move this forward a bit. Where is the sticker? The sticker is hidden here by default. I'll show the sticker, select it, and move it forward a little so it's not on top of my settings button. Then I'll go back and hide it again. Let's continue with the rest of the process. Alright, it goes back into the left panel container, and this time we want to customize the internal elements of this extended section. I'll open the extended section. There are three elements inside it. One is an image, the other two are containers. Clicking them shows this image, and these two containers, one is this and the other is that. Inside this container are other elements. We'll get to each of them one by one. The first thing I want to do is change this image or the company logo and put my own company's logo here, or the logo of the client we're working for. So I select it, and go here in section 1. There's an image option. I select this image and proceed. I import the logo I want. Wherever I click inside 3D view, my logo will be imported there. So I can click here and it will appear here, or I can click here and it will appear here. It's better to click here, but don't worry, wherever you click and wherever it ends up, you can easily change its position and move it around. Since I want to place it here, I'll just click right on it, but unfortunately, as you can see, it ended up in a different spot and took up the whole container. Why is that? Because I wanted it to land right here in this spot, but it actually ended up in this section. No problem, I'll just grab it and drop it between these two like this. Now it's gone and is behind these, which we'll fix in a moment. There's nothing to worry about. How do we fix it? Look, we want it to sit exactly where this picture is. So what do? So whatever settings have been applied to this image need to be applied to the second image. I'll call this one logo, so it's clear that we imported it. Let me write it in Persian. All right, let's go and see what settings have been applied to this one. I'll keep those settings in mind. Then I'll apply them to my own image. For now, we don't need to worry about its tag and action. There's no exploratory action for it. For now, let me just see what its properties are. Its properties have been set. These two options are checked, and actually use hand cursor is not checked. For now, we won't check it, but later I'll explain whether we need to check it or not. The next option, its scale mode is fit inside, horizontal alignment is left, and vertical alignment is top. Now, I'll select my own photo. I'll set fit inside, make the horizontal alignment left, and the vertical alignment top. As you can see, it appeared very quickly and positioned itself correctly. Alright, let's scroll down and see what other settings are available for size and other details. Its width is set to 100%, the height is 25%, and its position is left and top at 0, 0. Now I'll select a logo as my own image. The width is 100%, the height is 25%, and the left and top are both set to 0, just like before. So we're almost done. Our logo has been added and has replaced the previous logo. Now we can easily remove the previous company logo. In this way, if you want your logo to be clickable, meaning when we preview it, when reviewing the tool and the mouse hovers over the logo, a hand icon appears so the user knows they can click on the logo. We can go and adjust its specific settings. What's the use of this? Well, this logo belongs to a company. The company might have a website, a channel, or a blog. We can link that website, channel, or blog to this logo, so when the user clicks on the logo, it opens that website or not. We want it so that when the user clicks on this logo, they return to the first page of our virtual tour. That is, our virtual tour has different panorama images. The user has browsed around and moved forward through various panoramas. Now with just one click, they want to go back and be placed on the very first start page of your tour. We link that start page to this logo, and here in this section we select the logo. In this section, we enable the Use Hand Cursor option, and in the action, we define the desired action, whether it's opening a panorama, showing an element, or whatever is supposed to happen. And now, if I preview it again, you'll see that when the mouse hovers over the logo, it's clickable, and I can very easily click on it and have my desired action executed. Alright, the logo part is clear. Now let's move on to the main container, which actually holds the content. What is this container? Let me preview it to see what it actually does. Look, here there are a series of buttons that have some settings. See, when I hover over it now, it reacts. What does that mean? Take a look. When the mouse goes over the button, its color changes. See, its background turns blue. These are called hover settings, which can be done within the 3 deciseconds itself. I'll show you right now how it's done. When you want to create a new button, and now if we click on this, see what happens. This information page opens up. I fully explained this info window in the main tutorial section on creating a virtual tool, and if needed in the future, I'll record a separate detailed tutorial on how we can design a very elegant info window. But today, our topic is about the skin. So for now, we won't be dealing with these. Well, and each of these performs a specific action. For example, the location button shows the location of this tour. or our desired site on the map, just like that, and so on. The rest of the options each perform their own specific function as well. Let's go back to the tool and customize these. All right, as I said, I'm discussing the first container. You see, when I expand it, it opens up and I can see various elements inside. So in order, the first is a line. The second is a button, which is actually a label, a title, a heading. And it continues like this line, label, all the way to the end. All right, we don't need to do anything with the top ones. There aren't any special settings for them. We'll focus on these labels. The first thing you can do with a label is edit its style. Let's go into its style editing. So that hover topic I mentioned to you here, I can explain it. Look, here it says roll over it. S, actually the same concept. It means that when your mouse hovers over that button, its state changes. Roll over means that when the mouse moves over it, its state changes. That is, its color might change, or maybe the font color changes, or the font becomes bold, the background changes, and so on. So here are the normal settings for your button. It looks like this. Now, here I'm going to set the font to Persian, since I want to write Persian text in it. I'll choose the B Yeken font. And I'll set its size to 20 and make it bold. Let's make sure it's aligned here. These are the rollover settings. What are they? I'll select them. Look, here again, you can apply some specific settings to the rollover. For example, see, right now I've set this rollover to normal. So why in the rollover? Because in the rollover, I can make it bold. What does that mean? It means when the mouse hovers over it, the text becomes bold. And what is pressed? The press state means when the mouse is over it and you click on it, how should it look? What color should it be? Let's go through them one by one. We can set up configurations for these states. So what is the press state? And also what is press rollover? That is, when it's pressed, look, some buttons are two state, meaning they have a press state and a normal release state. Their release state includes normal and rollover, and their press state includes pressed and pressed rollover. That means when you click the button, its color changes and stays changed. It remains that way until you click it again, at which point it changes back to its normal state. So now, in that clicked state, what should change when the mouse hovers over it? That's when we come and modify the preset rollover settings. So now in the rollover state, I just made its font bold. Let's see if it works or not. In the preview, you can clearly see that I changed its font. Take a look. When I move the mouse over it, the font becomes bold. You can see the font size and its thickness increase. I hope you understood what I meant. Now, I'm going to change its text to Persian in the properties. Here it is, text. It says tour information here. I'll change this and write it in Persian as Atlaat Tower tour information. Let's look for it. Okay, I'll change this to Persian. And now I need to right align it because Persian is written from right to left. Here, I select the right align option, just as I mentioned before. You can see that the information here isn't clear at all. So what should I do? I need to adjust the padding to add a bit of space on the right. I come down here. Previously, since it was left to right, the padding was set to 10. I save this. And now I set the right padding to 10. This way, the content will be displayed more clearly. In this way, the information is displayed properly. Now, the next topic is about its action, which is pretty straightforward. When you click on this label, it should perform an action, right? What should it do? It should show the tour information. So its show component should display that. Take a look at info photo. That container, which is called info photo, the info photo container, where exactly is it? Let me just scroll up a little bit and then close this particular window. Look, this is the info photo when I actually show this. This specific container should definitely be displayed. When I click on this label, so I'll hide this again and stay inside the action. And now what should be hidden? Look, when this is clicked, when the container is opening, this menu itself should be hidden. This whole expanded section should be closed. So the component definitely comes and hides the expanded section in the left panel. In this way, all of these have the same actions one by one. Okay, and now again I'm going to change these. I'll do this again with its style so you can review it once more. I will now proceed to go into the edit style menu and then carefully set the font to be Yekan. Set the size to 20. On hover, I have made it distinctly bold. That is the primary change. And within the properties section, I am carefully aligning this particular element to the far right, subsequently setting the right padding value to precisely 20 pixels, and also meticulously writing its corresponding text content here as well, ensuring all details are accurately represented. List of available panoramas and various cameras, so why exactly doesn't it look good? Let me proceed to the edit style section. It's quite probably set to italic, so I will carefully turn off the italic setting. Perhaps that will resolve the issue. Maybe that's better. Yeah, the italic style doesn't really work with this font. So I'll go ahead, since the first character wasn't visible like this, and in the same way, I'll go and change the styles of these elements one by one. I'm going to pause the video here, make these changes, and they've been updated. I'll show you the result in a moment and go over the other settings as well. Alright, one by one, I've customized these elements, selected a Persian font for them, and adjusted their text. And as you can see, it looks like this. Now let's go and check the preview. In this way, you see the list of panoramas, and now you need to go and, if you wanted to use this poster, you would need to, for example, go into the tour information one by one and enter your desired text in Persian here. Let's go back to the tour. I'll give a brief explanation and then we'll wrap up the discussion. At this point, you've pretty much learned all the main points or important information regarding designing your skin. And you can either design your own skin yourself, or you can choose from these ready-made Tili skins, modify them, and use them for your own work. Alright, here's another important point to note. Let's say this button does here well. This button down here, I want to change it. I don't like how it looks, and I want to put my own custom button there. As I mentioned, you either need to design a new button, import it into 3D Vista, and then one by one define the actions that this button performs for it, or you can do it right here. Go to the library and select your desired button. Well, I had previously selected one for the previous button, but now for this button, I want to import my own custom button. Well, you can use any software you like, or even download it from the internet. Export your custom PNG button and insert it here. Or the easiest way is to use PowerPoint again. With it, you can easily design a button for yourself right here. So now let's quickly create a button. I will meticulously design it in such a precise and detailed manner that it will clearly and intuitively represent the action of a right click, making the visual representation immediately understandable and functionally apparent to the user. I will now proceed to carefully choose its format in a very specific and deliberate manner, much like this. And as you can clearly observe, I am meticulously selecting its format precisely in this particular way, ensuring all specifications are met. Now that the intricate internal part of this entire process has been thoroughly completed and finalized, my next crucial step is to export this button, which is now ready for its intended use and integration into the broader system. I select all of these, right click, choose Save as Picture, and save it. I save the button in precisely the same location where all of my project files are stored and kept. Just like this. Alright, I don't need to do anything else with PowerPoint. Now I'll import that button. From here, I select this button, and this time I insert the button in the middle. So, how do I move this button that I've just inserted into this container? Let me show you. This is the button right here. It's selected in the element section here. Okay, and my button is also here. It's at the bottom. Alright, I want to move this next to that one. Very easily, I just click on it. I pick it up, I drag it up here and drop it. And just like before, see what settings have been applied to this button. I will copy these settings and then carefully apply them to my own button. So what exactly are these important settings? The settings are, first, the anchor mode. second properties, third center, fourth middle, and finally the numerical values 42, 42. I will now proceed to this location. Now, it is important to pay close attention here. The button that was here was of the type button, but I inserted this one as an image. So I'll delete it and insert it again as a button, because as you can see, there are some settings you need to apply. I select this and it has a set of settings that in my case make a difference. I realized that the settings here are different because I inserted a picture or image, whereas I could have used a button, made it a button, and inserted this X. So I delete this and go back again, and in this section I choose icon button. This section allows me to insert any icon I want. Now I bring in this X and insert it here again, and I drag it above the button that is supposed to be replaced. As I mentioned, I apply the same settings from the previous button to this one. Here it's more this push button, the size is 42 and it's center middle, and I set this to 42 by 42 pixels, center middle, and set it back to push button. And the previous button, well, before I prepare it and transfer its actions, let me see what actions it had. Its actions were hiding the expanded view, showing the sticker, and closing. So I go ahead and add the actions, hiding the expanded view in the left panel, showing the sticker, and closed claps are in the left panel as well. And we don't need to do anything else with this button, so we prepare it and go to preview. Let's see if our new button works or not. Like this, like this. Alright, notice that our panorama is actually rotating to the left. Now, we can make it so that by pressing these buttons, we can change its rotation direction. How? Right now I'm going to set for this button which way my panorama should rotate. I go to media control and set it on click timing. Let my panorama move to the right. Let's see what happens. So as I press this button, my panorama rotates to the right. And when I press this button, my panorama reverses its rotation. If I press this button again, it changes its direction again. My panorama goes back and can rotate. Now it creates a special effect and gives that feeling. I clicked on this button and a change happened. The next topic is customizing the sticker. We bring it up here and we can clearly show the sticker, and this particular lorem ipsum text is prominently displayed within it. In fact, all of the default placeholder text that are typically written inside the various design elements of modern websites are meticulously created and generated right here. For example, I can easily enter a virtual title here, something like theme design, which is a very common and relevant example. And just as I previously mentioned before, I can then seamlessly go into its comprehensive style editor, where I have the complete freedom to change its font, adjust its size, alter its color, and perform many other extensive and customizable things with all of the diverse settings and options that are readily available here, allowing for a truly personalized and professional appearance. And you are already quite familiar with it and can easily work with it. It's just that the font size here is a bit small, so I'll make it a bit larger. If I wanted, I could also make the font size smaller, and in this way customize this style as well. And you can easily continue the rest on your own. You can even define actions for this very sticker. For example, you can specify what happens when it's clicked, or even for the text, for instance, the text inside this sticker. You can set it up so that when the parameter changes, the text inside it also changes. God willing, I will explain these things to you, dear ones, in the future, if life permits. Alright, let's move on to the next step. Now, I've localized this theme into Persian, personalized it, and I can do exactly the same things. I can apply them to the mobile theme as well. You saw that applying these same settings to the mobile theme was very simple, and you can easily do it too. And in the mobile theme, you can either apply the same settings, or if you don't want this mobile theme at all, you can just remove it and import the new theme you just created here into the mobile theme, and go ahead and modify it and apply your own customizations as you wish. So how does this work? If you don't want the current theme that Vista has designed, you go and click on the mobile theme tab, and it will ask you if you want to delete it. Now, before I delete this, let me save a copy of this and export it. So if I delete it and regret it later, I can restore it. Let me save it as a backup. In the theme section, you'll see there's a save skin option, and you can use that. Basically, you can have a portable theme file and import it on any computer you want. So you can save it as well. Here, you just give it a name. For example, my skin, and then you save it. All right. A file with a VTS format will be meticulously created for you, and that is precisely how you can effectively save it so that it's portable, meaning all its contents are included. These icons, the logo, the buttons, everything is inside it, so you can open it on any computer that has Vista, import it into Vista, and use it. You might name it something like My Skin Export or Portable. I save it, and naturally it's basically the same format and the same file, it's just a bit larger in size. For example, here you can see that the My Skin file I saved is 800 kilobytes. But this portable option, the portable file that I exported, is about 1.7. It means it has included your logo and other details as well. That's why its size increased, and I'll explain more about this in a moment. I don't like the mobile skin. I don't want it, so I'll delete it, and I'll import the desktop skin that I designed into the mobile skin. This way, when I click on this add option, you can see that I can choose which elements should be included and which ones should not. So I click down, and in this way, the skin I designed for desktop will also be available for mobile, which, as you can see in the first step, my recommendation, for example, for someone who wants to design a skin for mobile, the first thing is that such a skin isn't suitable for mobile. So what should I do? The entire left panel should be minimized like this. I mean, for mobile, maybe such a skin might be more suitable. That is, the user comes and views that menu in this format, selects it, and then sees the tour in this format. All right, friends, thank you for sticking with me up to this point. God willing, if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. Post this tutorial right on this webpage, along with the WhatsApp number that's listed on the website. You can contact me directly and ask your questions. Depending on the questions you ask and the interest you show, I'll prepare my next tutorials so that you can work with this powerful tool and take advantage of the world of virtual reality, which is rapidly approaching us with even more features in the future. This way, you can use it in your own work and hopefully be successful in the future. And let me make one final point. The topic of skin design itself is a very hot topic. In the field of virtual tour design, and even in its simplest form, if you search for it on the internet and look for downloadable ready-made skins, or search for download or buy skin for 3D Vista, you'll see the variety of different skins available and how some of those skins are even sold at very high prices. Some of those skins are even more expensive than the main 3D Vista software itself, which costs around $400. So if you are familiar with graphic design, have design skills, and actually have a passion for design, and you have an artistic touch, designing skins yourself can actually become a source of income for you, provided you learn it well, gain enough skill, and build experience by working on it a lot. Design as many skins as you can, create as many sample projects as possible until you gain enough experience. This way you'll be able to identify and fix the flaws in your work, encounter those issues, so that gradually you can create flawless and complete skins for both mobile and desktop. Design and produce them, and who knows, maybe you'll even be able to sell them and earn some income from it. Thank you for your attention, and goodbye.